and welcome to the Wallet to Wealth Female Entrepreneur Interview Series. In support of Halton Women's Place, Wallet to Wealth is a brand created to speak to women to help mentor, educate, and inspire ladies to living and leading empowered lives. We have raised over $47,000 for Halton Women's Place at our annual speaker galas and have hosted several events to help ladies build their businesses. This year, we have created our power introductions. We've freed ourselves from subconscious money sabotage, and we've worked on developing our intuition. And our next event is actually next Wednesday night. So we're just going to start the launch on social media. That's going to be with a marketing strategist, Diana Rocca. She is awesome. So don't miss that next Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Join our squad. We are not only about success and breaking barriers, we help women win. We shine a spotlight every Monday on a female entrepreneur to help her own future. So I'm about to introduce Elaine Uskoski. She became an expert in the field of gaming addiction, knowing this firsthand from her very own son while he was in university. She's written 2 books and has appeared in various news broadcasts, including W5, CTV, The National, just to name a few. So Elaine stopped at nothing to understand this pandemic and what could be done to save our children and our loved ones. Welcome, Elaine.
Thank you for having me, Whitney.
You're welcome. It's just so nice to have you here, and just the power of social media. I'd like to just put a plug in that I've just been able to meet the most fantastic people online, and even though I've never met people in person, I feel like I've created these lifelong friends. And so when I saw your name go by with the gaming addiction, I thought, oh, I've got to find that woman, and I worked hard to find you. And
here's that woman.
Here she is. So thank you so much for doing what you do and taking the time to share with us, because I think this is just so very important, especially during a time like this. So before we jump into that, let's just take a step back and talk about the messages that we pick up through society. So there's intergenerational messages and trauma that we pick up through our lives, and there's also societal messages. And do you have any, a little story around that to share with us?
I think my message growing up in my family particularly was that children were a burden. My parents married young, and they were ill-equipped, and also came from families that were ill-equipped in terms of parenting. And so growing up, I always felt like I was just a huge burden to my parents, and that parenting me was an enormous stress on their life. And so it was important for me when I became a parent that I didn't, that I broke that cycle, that wasn't what I put across to my own children. I tried to really be present and find the joy in parenting.
Well, that's a great. Thank goodness you were able to break that, because not everybody can do that. Usually we keep the cycle going, and that is very sad. I mean, that's painful, because as children we just a sec, I can hear one of us on a background. As children, we're kind of selfish because we want to be loved and we want to be taken care of. And so when we're a burden, that's not a good feeling to grow up with. So tell us how that adversity that you learned has moved into your advantage today. Sorry, I can hear. Do you have your cell phone on, your volume on your phone?
Nope, I do not.
No. Okay. We've got a double thing going on here. Okay, so how has that brought how's your adversity that you grew up with? How has that brought you advantage today?
Well, it's now brought me into coaching parents in terms of those who are struggling with video gaming addiction. And I think when you have a child who's addicted in your home, that becomes the burden. And we tend to focus on the problem, which is the addiction, and we forget that there's a person behind that addiction. And so, in what I'm doing now, my role is to help parents to not focus so much on the problem, but remember who their child is, because every child wants to make their parents proud. No child wants to become addicted and a burden in their parents' lives. And so I try to refocus on that.
So because of the adversity you had as a child, it made you a better parent to be able to hear your own child, because many parents, they do not know that their child has addiction.
Right. And in my case, I could have gotten angry, but I knew that, my son was 6'2" and dropped to 127 pounds at the worst crises portion of his addiction, wasn't attending university classes, was holed up in his residence, gaming for 16 hours a night, literally passing out and then starting it all over again, not grooming, not eating. And so for me, the gaming wasn't necessarily the problem. For me, it was, why is he turning away from himself? Why is he giving up on life? And so I really approached it with as much empathy as I could, instead of it becoming a battleground between us. And that takes you back to I didn't want him to feel it was a burden to me. And he said to me at one time, "I've never read your first book, Mom, because I feel badly for what I put you through." And my response to him was, "Hey, I signed up for this. Parenting, you take the good, you take the bad, you take the ugly, you take the pretty, and you have nothing to feel badly for. I was happy to be a part of your journey, whether you were addicted or not."
That's amazing. Yeah. So you really helped him. You were instrumental in because I like what you said, is that the addiction isn't the problem. The addiction is a symptom of the problem. So you were able
Right.
to identify that, and I would say that probably 99% of people. I mean, how are we supposed to know? We don't know that, right? Unless you've been
Right.
through recovery with somebody in your family where they teach you. So for people that are watching, I just want to repeat that. So it's not the addiction is a symptom of the problem. So in order to heal, it's not a matter of like, well, we're just going to take this toy away from you, this gaming device, and we're going to throw it into the garbage, because that's not the solution. And so you
No.
had the depth and the breadth to understand that there's a lot more needed to help people in this situation and heal. And you were able to, you were instrumental in that, and he is healed. So tell us about your business and your experience and the whole thing of what you do, and how people can come to you to get help.
So I am an author. I've written 2 books. My first book was actually supposed to be a book on, and it is, the transition between parenting your child and parenting your adult. But of course, before starting that book, I discovered that my second son, who was 19 at the time, had a gaming addiction. So now I was parenting a child who was an adult with an addiction, and then it served other questions, like what were my rights, my legal rights? Do I parent? Do I advise? Do I not? So that led me to start sharing my story, and people gravitated more towards the video gaming addiction portion of the story because it was new and a lot of people weren't talking about it. That was back in 2017 that I first started to speak. And it wasn't until 2018 that the World Health Organization even recognized it as an actual disorder. So I then was asked, after I began speaking and educating people on the addiction, was to start coaching parents as well, which I initially started. And now I coach the child with the addiction as well as the parents. So it's become a family coaching. And during this pandemic, I decided to write the second book, which is the actual story of the video gaming addiction, where there's resolution. My son shares his recovery process as well. He allowed me to interview him during that process. So you really take a deep dive into the addict's mind as well. So that was released in February, and I'm still coaching and speaking. I'm happy to. And then I became the clinical partner in Canada for intensive clinical training for gaming disorder. So we're on a mission to get as many therapists as we can in Canada trained in gaming disorder, because we're really lacking that here in Canada.
Oh, I bet this is fabulous. So tell us, like, is there a stat? How much of a pandemic is this? Because this is secret. This is hidden. It's not like you can see it because it's done in the room, in somebody's dorm at university, or they're at home in their bedroom.
Right.
They're playing games right on their cell phones. So has any stat been put to this yet?
So 9 to 11% of the world population is addicted to video gaming that we know of. And it would be, so it's almost split in half between female and male who game. However, 94% of male are more likely to become addicted and only 6% of female. During this COVID pandemic, we've seen an increase of 75% in terms of gamers. And the average age of a gaming addict would be a male between 18 and 25. But we are seeing younger numbers since kids have been home during the pandemic and our online schooling.
Yes. So tell us, where can this addiction take you? Like, where can the gaming addiction take? Just so we can let people know, because I know you and I spoke about this the other day. We might have a loved one. It might be our child or our grandchild, or it could be our spouse. So tell us that where this gaming addiction can go if it's not taken care of. What can happen to that person?
Well, anyone who has stopped living their life despite the negative consequences due to a gaming addiction is in great danger. Sleep patterns change. Children are staying up far later at night and not getting enough sleep. So you'll start to see your child difficult to wake in the morning, difficult to focus with their school. School grades will start to decline. And if it's an adult that's working, they may be missing work time, or their quality of their work will go down. They stop seeing their friends outside of video gaming. They stop engaging with family. Some parents stop engaging with their children. And a lot of gaming addicts, when it becomes severe, they give up on grooming. They're not eating properly, or they're overeating. They're eating junk food at the console. They're drinking high caffeinated drinks to keep themselves going. So they can either, lose considerable weight or gain considerable weight. And it starts to change the brain. And there's research now showing that excessive video gaming and any excessive screen time can mimic or exacerbate neurological disorders such as anxiety, depression, ADHD, and OCD. So it can be quite considerably harming.
Well, yes, and I think it also leads to suicide. So
it can, yes.
Yeah.
It can also lead to violence. There's a lot of children that, when gaming is taken away, become very volatile as well. Or on the opposite end of that spectrum, they become despondent and suicidal.
Yeah, because apparently that's been in the rise during COVID. So because they say that addiction will take you to either being crazy, or it'll just take you to the end of your life. And of course, then we develop other addictive patterns. So maybe it's not the gaming anymore. Now it becomes something else. So it's just really, really something that has to be addressed. So I'm so glad that you're there to accept people in and counsel them and help them on how to get better, and that your son is he's active and he's talking and he's sharing information. So this is really good. So tell us, so what's next for you? What's next with your business and yourself?
So I'll continue to grow the coaching aspect. I'd really like to get back out and speak again now that the pandemic has come. Speaking has been much less. Starting to do a little bit more online now, but I look forward to speaking in public again, in person. And I have my hand in a project with a university professor, and we're trying to create a module so that we teach video gaming addiction for psychology students now, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, get the
And continue to get a therapist enrolled in Intenta clinical training, so we have more therapists available, because there's still a great need, and there's not enough therapists. There's not enough help.
Yeah, and it would start with the parent. I mean, if somebody was watching this that had their own gaming addiction, because this will, this goes up on YouTube and it stays forever. So somebody could be watching this, and it may be the parent who says, "Oh my goodness, I think my child fits into this category." What would you recommend a parent do?
Well, reach out for help, first of all. Get a diagnosis I'm not sure if you can get a full diagnosis from doctors yet, because they're not all on board yet. They're not all trained either. If you get to a therapist, if you can find an addiction-specific therapist and get a diagnosis that there is an addiction, that's always helpful. You could reach out to me for coaching. Certainly pick up my book, Cyber Sober, A Caregiver's Guide to Video Gaming Addiction. And get your friends involved in your life and to support you as the parent, because it can be quite draining when you're dealing with an addicted child, and you need all the support that you can get.
Yeah, because they can take you down. Like the one thing about addiction is this common symptom is denial, or maybe I should call it the number one symptom of addiction.
Definitely.
Is denial. And there was a saying that I heard, and see if I can say it properly. Somebody told me this years ago. They said, if you were in the hospital and you're on different floors, so floor number 2 has it's full of cancer patients, and you walk at, a doctor walks in and says, "Oh my gosh, guess what? I've got a cure. I've got a cure." And everyone on the 3rd floor is like, "Oh my gosh, please, 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 please help me." And on floor 2, there's everybody there with addiction, and the doctor walks in and says, "Oh, I've got a cure. I've got a cure for addiction." And everyone on floor 2 says, "There's nothing wrong with me." And that's so important to know, is that so if you have a child or a loved one that you're completely frustrated with, saying, "My God, they're always on that game. It's, that they're addicted and it's driving me crazy." And, you start to get into these spins. You have to realize that that person that's in that spot, they don't even know.
No, my son saw no issue whatsoever. They get into this zone, and they're not capable of seeing it as a problem. And then they're so intense on saving the addiction, because they start to believe, they've convinced their brain they need it to survive, that they will start lying and manipulating. My son was very good at he even admits now, "I became very good at lying and manipulating." My parents were unaware for a number of months.
Yeah, you understand it so well. So, well, I encourage anybody watching to reach out. Elaine, there's lots of comments that you may not be able to see right now, but if you can put in your contact info, even if it's just your email, that people could email you and ask for help. But the first step to recovery is asking for help, and that could be the non-addictive parent asking for help. And what I like is that you do the family counseling, because addiction is a family disease, and the child could get better, but the parent hasn't done their healing, and there's nothing wrong with doing work to heal and get better as a family. Like, this is not a stigma. This is not something to be ashamed of, that I needed to go for help. It's just really, really important to ask for help. And here you are. So very knowledgeable. And it's not just textbook knowledge. Like, Elaine, you have it firsthand. So this is, you know how to be there from a parent's perspective, and you know the disease of addiction. So, well, thank you so much for sharing with us today. And I'm a big cheerleader for you, and I just hope that
Thank you.
Yeah, just continue speaking, sharing. You're not able to hold up that book, are you? I should have asked you to.
I did. No, I don't have it in the room.
That's okay,
Sorry.
but you can even put a link on there if you
Sure.
want to, because I think that it's a book that everybody should have in their household, because you just don't know. Like it can be grandchildren, and especially, like you say, during this time of COVID, children have been stuck inside, and instead of being outside playing and stuff, they're solo on a game, or they're gaming with other kids. So
yeah, they want the social aspect of it because they're so lonely in this isolation.
Yeah.
I'll put the link to my website into the book below.
Perfect. And just what you just said about they're so lonely in this isolation. And the interesting thing about addiction is that it takes you to isolation. You reach a point where you don't want anybody in your life. You just want to be completely by yourself. That's where it takes you. So, well, thank you so much, Elaine. And I'll give you the last say.
Well, thank you, Whitney. It was a pleasure to be here. And I want to say that the journey to addiction, I have no shame. There's no stigma in our family. My son's journey, he's now almost 4 years sober of gaming. He says it helped him become a better version of who he is. So there was nothing lost in the process, only gain.
So good. That is so good. Okay, well, thank you. And everybody have a great week. And we'll see you next Monday at 10 o'clock. Bye-bye.